and not leave our lives to fate or a higher power. Instead, through our own efforts, we can transform suffering and pain into peace and happiness, turning delusion into enlightenment, and live meaningfully for ourselves, our families, and society. To enjoy blessings, evildoers have to endure suffering, which is not enough for anyone. That's why Buddhism places great emphasis on the issue of karma. It is a principle that helps people be aware of and take responsibility for their own actions. We must thoroughly understand the principle of cause and effect and use it as a guideline. Make a practice guideline right here and now to transform suffering and pain into peace and happiness. Buddhist teachings from low to high, from the way of being human to the way of sage, are all based on the foundation of cause and effect. Therefore, when you come to Buddhism without understanding the principle of cause and effect, it will be difficult for your practice to achieve good results. I sincerely confide a few words of respect and hope that those who are in the same situation will join us as we reach shore. Not many people have reached the shore yet, but when we decide, we can. If we want to be successful, there's nothing we can't do. The month of the year of the ox. Consciousness Dhamma Universal Enlightenment Gi, Cause and Effect, and My Destiny People Buddhism for People My Life. People are always looking for peace of body and spirit. If we want to find the source of happiness, we should find out what Buddhism is in this world for. To learn about Buddhism, we must know who Buddha is. Who is a real person, or is he a divine creator, or just a legendary character? According to history, on the full moon day of lunar month, T, and according to the Indian calendar, on the full moon night of May 544, before Kanuyan at Katai La Citadel, returning to Lam Garden, I went to Prince Da to be born with the joy of Father King Tin, Fa and Queen Ma Gia. B days after giving birth to the crown prince, the queen passed away and was reborn in heaven. Her younger brother, Ma Xe, took the place of Queen Tai Ti until he was an adult. The crown prince C was young when he was just B years old and followed his father to the fields to celebrate His Majesty's Majesty, which is the celebration of the first farming day of the year. This was a big festival for all Indians at that time while everyone was busy. The prince happily participated in the festival as the first pile of plowing was started. The worms were broken into 2 and 3 pieces. Then the sparrows flew to compete to swallow the insects, and the big sandbirds caught the sparrows and ate them next to the festival, where a hunter was waiting. Duong Kung was ready to shoot down the falcons in the dense forest. He saw many tigers waiting to attack. The hunter clearly saw the scene of carnage taking place before his eyes. The prince felt unhappy instead of continuing. With everyone enjoying the ceremony, the prince found a quiet place under a tree thinking about life is like that. How did time pass? The prince grew up with countless thoughts, and he also got married and had children like many people in this world. One day, on the occasion of entering the 4 gates of the city, the prince witnessed seeing old people sick and dying and the way of life of a samana. These things make me think more and more, wondering in my heart that when I go, I have to grow old and die. I have to die with those people. Why is it that when I get old, I have difficulty walking and standing? Scarf, blurred vision, deafness, pillow, back pain, illness, pain in all directions, misery, death, lying still, unable to move. It's the same when I wash my body. Why did the prince come to the monk and ask him why he had to become a monk to practice the monk's practice? What is the purpose of scolding him here and there? Because the monk explained to the prince how to practice. The monk was able to escape the suffering of birth, old age, illness, and death. From then on, the prince began to find clues for a new life. Being born like that still wasn't approved by my father. My father said, "Why don't I follow the Brahmanical legend to take care of the family and society, and then become a monk. It's not too late. Since ancient times, many people still doing so, the prince immediately told his father if he waited until he was old to practice, he would have already learned so many worldly habits. Where would he have the intellectual strength to practice? And the prince asked his father to solve the problem to his satisfaction. I have 4 conditions. I will not become a monk to study religion and do as you ask. 1 must do for my children never grow old. 2, how to make my children strong and never get sick. 3, how to let my children live forever and not die. 4, how to help everyone escape old age, sickness, and death. King and father discuss. Shocked to hear you request 4 conditions like that, he said, my beloved child, everything in this world is only relative. You require conditions that go beyond the laws of the world like this. So how can we solve this problem? Think again. Knowing that your child will eventually find a way to become a monk, the king becomes even more sad and worried about the 4 conditions the prince gave. No one has been able to create this world since time immemorial. How can humans give birth forever, never grow old, live forever, never die? And how can humans escape suffering until the princess gives the Tai her first child? People see that having a wife and children are the obstacles that make us more bound. If we hesitate to stay here and continue to live according to love, we don't know when we will be able to resolve our suffering of human life. So after maturity, one decides everything to prepare for one's life, so he became a monk. Leaving behind the luxurious life of the golden palace of Dean Engok, his beautiful wife and children, he begged for worldly authority in the night of riding like the moonlight doing laundry, twice looked at his wife and children, and then secretly sneaked out with his followers. The royal palace crossed the river to the demon country of Kita, where there was the highest spiritual tradition at that time, to learn from a master. He went to 2 famous masters at that time to practice and study diligently for years. The 2 masters achieved understanding, but the problem of how to help people escape old age, sickness, and death remains. Could not solve the problem. Therefore, the 2 teachers abandoned him and continued to search for monks to study the Dharma. He heard that the Dharma chapter forcing him to abstain from suffering can reach nirvana with no more suffering, and people who practice this method only wear clothes. The cold air of the pants and the ash respect the person standing with one leg raised and one hand sitting on the mat, which means that the practitioner must find every way to torture his or her body, because they think that doing so will quickly attain enlightenment and liberate the person into the deep forest. Practicing that method for 6 years of asceticism forced me to eat only a few sesame seeds and corn every day. His body was weak and thin, with only skin covering his bones. Tiu Tui was pale and had no strength to practice anymore. Finally, he fainted and fell into a ghost while his strength was exhausted and he could no longer stand. Luckily, he was a cowherd girl. Seeing that, he immediately came to offer a bowl of milk, thanks to the bowl of milk from the kind cowherd girl. The recipient regained consciousness, and then the judge reviewed the methods that he had practiced. If he practiced and still remained enjoying sensual pleasures, is like a person who boils sand and wants it to become rice. He cannot reach enlightenment and liberation. There is still a way to practice. Exercising asceticism only makes the body emaciated and miserable, mentally miserable, and unable to achieve enlightenment. Afterwards, the person contemplates and finds the middle way method of not enjoying and not forcing the living body to become balanced. Every day, he goes begging for alms and eats just enough to feed his body to practice. After a period of practice according to the middle way method, his health is restored to normal, and he reaches the Bodhi-fat tree. Great worship, I pray that even if I leave this place, if I do not attain the supreme bodhisattva of the person sitting in the lotus position, continuously meditate and reflect on oneself for 49 days and nights without eating or drinking here. Those who have been enlightened and liberated have attained the first three insights. Those who have attained the divine eye wisdom have clear eyes and clearly understand everything from near and far. As far as the eye can see clearly, after death, a person will follow the good and bad karma he has created and lead him down the 6 paths of reincarnation. If anyone sows good deeds, he will be reborn back to the 3 good paths. If one sows good karma, evil and evil causes are reborn in 3 evil paths and 3 good paths: heaven, human, and asura. To keep in mind that many ghosts and animals are inhabited is not the end of death, but death is just a change in shape depending on the good and bad karma we have created. Through cultivating and realizing, we see and know like that. So the Buddha said we see living beings walking in 6th path of reincarnation is like a person standing on a high floor, looking down at the crossroads and seeing passers-by clearly without errors. The Buddha clearly saw the endless cycle of reincarnation of sentient beings, so he did not let ch. Next, the witness was fully understood. Understand your own life from countless lifetimes ago clearly and thoroughly about past lifetimes. Everyone can clearly see this in the Amitabha Sutra. The Buddha said the following: I remember countless past lives like you remember Vic that just happened yesterday, knowing where people come from, and finally being able to witness the gonorrhea. To attain enlightenment means to know the way to escape from birth and death clearly and show it to the monks. However, in Buddhism, there is a good thing that it does not force everyone to believe in a fanatic way. Whether suffering can be done or not is up to each person to decide. Whoever wants to seek enlightenment and liberation to become a Buddha and save sentient beings, then the person who only practices according to the Bodhisattva practice is the enlightened person, not for personal gain. Be generous with everyone. Be willing to share what you have, from material to spiritual. Take everyone's joy as your own joy. Bodhisattva to eliminate the causes of suffering. Clearly recognize greed and selfishness. Being stingy and dangerous causes bodhisattvas to practice giving alms to eliminate the field of seeing people let loose. Falling into high servitude and self-slander causes the moral character to deteriorate. The bodhisattva maintains the precepts to eliminate it, so it is said to maintain the precepts. Breaking the precepts when angry is the cause of committing many sins that lead to suffering for yourself and the bodhisattva. Cultivate patience and yield to transform, so it is said that patience. Animals, seeing laziness and self-indulgence are the cause of the loss of the body, bodhisattvas practice diligently to transform and resolve the great world, the thoughts drifting towards despair. Thought is the cause of insecurity and fear. Bodhisattvas practice meditation to stop all delusions, so they say meditation saves distractions. The cause of ignorance is falling into the 3 bad paths. Bodhisattvas practice compassion and wisdom to illuminate the dark mind, so it is said that wisdom. To overcome ignorance, in addition to knowing how to accumulate blessings to help sentient beings, bodhisattvas must also practice 6 dharmas. Paramita to eliminate bad habits until the bodhisattva becomes a Buddha. Buddhism has guided us to understand cause and effect so that each person can live more responsibly in their actions. From our body, mouth, and mind, if we do good things in life, we will receive blessings, but if we do bad things, we will have to suffer. Is an inevitable law. No one has enough power to bless or bring disaster to us. The Buddha conveyed to us from the practice of meditation an attainment of enlightenment, not explaining it to the knowledge of the Buddha. The Buddha is infinitely inconceivable. For example, 2,600 years ago. So before you clearly saw that in the bowl of water there were countless living beings or reincarnations, or that there were countless worlds in this vast universe. Now with the advancement of science, Octologists have confirmed this. But if we say that all phenomena are of course, if something good or bad happens without cause and effect, people will live irresponsibly, relying on the grace of a God or some powerful being, and then live without the will to strive to overcome it. It's easy to project suffering and difficulties onto your body, causing suffering to yourself and others to avoid suffering, or fall into difficulties due to lack of correct awareness of life. Buddhism has shown us the ability to dare to endure all our creative actions, the farmer and the rabbit with the farmer. There was a man who worked in the fields to feed his family every day. He worked hard in the fields from early morning until it was dark before returning home, but his family was still poor and in need. What year did he go blind? His family had to cope with food shortages and debts. One day, he worked hard under the hot summer sun and was so tired that he sat down to rest under a tree. Sitting under a cool canopy of trees, looking out at the sunny field, he felt a feeling in his heart. Bored and thinking about my life's fate, it's so hard. Who has to work hard and pretend all day. One sunny day, to-dos, but there has never been a day. I was lost in thoughts about my poor life. Suddenly, from the deep forest, a rabbit ran out and crashed into a tree and died on the spot. The farmer suddenly found a rabbit. He was happy and excited, thinking that from now on we could escape poverty. He excitedly took the rabbit home, slaughtered half of it, and brought it to the market to sell for money. The remaining half was sold. He cooked for the whole family to eat. He happily told his wife and children that our family would no longer live in poverty, working hard in the fields. Starting tomorrow, I just have to sit under the tree and wait. Maybe every day a rabbit will come alone, and then he will go to that tree to sit and wait. Day after day, month after month. One day, he did not see a single rabbit coming to surrender him under the shade of a tree. People only saw the farmer's wife waiting with a sad face. In the story above, it reminds us to have a more correct view of the teachings. Cause and effect, instead of Mr. Dan wanting to have food, clothing, he had to create new causes to create the result, like wanting to have rice. Plowing the soil, sowing rice, weeding, fertilizing, and bringing water into the field, taking care of it according to the cause and effect process, and having favorable weather conditions, will surely have a bumper crop and reaping many good results. Farmers think and judge shallowly, thinking that everything will happen naturally, like when you picked up a rabbit without knowing that everything has its own underlying cause. The rabbit ran away in panic. The reason why the Kwong Ho rabbit ran headlong into the tree was because it was being chased and eaten by a large animal. Because he didn't have the right direction, he crashed into a tree and died on the spot. Meanwhile, Nu's brother worked for many years with other workers, but still couldn't survive the year of Han Baoluk's crop failure and had to endure famine and deprivation, despite he devoted himself to farming all year round, but still did not have enough strength to support his family. From then on, he was born dreaming of power, imagining all kinds of things, so when he was sitting under a tree to rest tired after such a hard time, the soul follows the wind and the child V makes his dreams come true. Therefore, he believes that his dreams are true, so he quit working in the fields and sat under a tree, waiting for the right moment, always hoping that some sharp animal would come and surrender. Like the rabbit last time. It's the negative thoughts and attitudes of people who lack understanding about cause and effect. Do you like to eat it? Sitting and wanting to not do anything but be able to enjoy it, he became self-indulgent, and as a result, not only he but his whole family had to suffer hunger from a life of deprivation and poverty. Korean people often dream about things that are not right, or not knowing that everything that becomes or fails in life has its own profound cause and effect. What comes naturally or suddenly? Or because life is not as prosperous as many other people, Poor people easily give birth to vague ideas and dreams. Good power leads to the attitude of hoping for a god or God. Some power helps farmer KT, whose life is poor and difficult. While dreaming of catching a rabbit makes him take the wrong action of leaving the field and bed in the corner of a tree to sit and wait for luck to come, because he thinks that by the time people become rich, they don't need to do anything, but they still don't know what they want to do to create material wealth. We must know how to combine many causes. First, people need to work hard and apply cause and effect in a simple way. For example, if we want to have mangoes, we must first have an empty piece of land to admire the mangoes. Then you have to have mango seeds or mango seedlings to plant. Then you have to work hard to care for them, irrigate, fertilize them for at least 2 years or more to get mango fruit. If you get more or less mango fruit, it depends on the weather. Whether our care is appropriate or not, it's not just about planting mango trees. In fact, everything in this world is not something that a farmer can sit on and catch a rabbit. All events that happen have their own cause and effect relationship, if anyone cares. It's natural to think that life has a destiny of being rich and poor, so people will have irresponsible behavior until they get spoiled and then blame it on this and that. In fact, everything is wrong. In this world, success or failure, so everything has its own karma. The lesson of cause and effect is that people often say that if you do good, you will be blessed. When you receive blessing, you will be blessed. That is the lesson of cause and effect. As a result, Buddhism often teaches that when we are born as humans, we all have blessings, but people who receive little blessings but enjoy a lot. How can we have enough blessings to enjoy, and if we do not know how to plant more blessings? If you worry about receiving hung, then the blessings will run out, and there will be nothing left. So we see that in this world, there are many people who want to enjoy things, but don't have them because of lack of blessings, and some people are becoming poor because of running out of blessings. Here's the story about the lesson of cause and effect. One day, Zen Master Gisan was bathing because the water was too hot, so he called his disciple to bring him healing water in addition. The disciple poured more cold water and saw that the water was just warm enough to bathe, but there was still a little bit of cold water, so he took it out and threw it away. The Zen master saw that he was not satisfied with the disciple's wastefulness, so he said, "Why are you wasting it like that? Everything in the world has its use. It's just that its value is not the same. Why do you underestimate a drop of water and throw it away in the wrong place? If you use it to water flowers and plants, not just plants, flowers become more lush without losing their value. Why would you waste even a drop of water? The value of the use is inconceivable." After hearing this, the disciple awakened and asked the teacher to change his Dharma name to Tu, which means drop of water, to remember this. Why Tu became a high monk. Famous and respected by everyone, thanks to the profound cause and effect in life, few people think about how to sow the virtue of virtue, which is destined for us to enjoy for ourselves. So whatever is ours is precious, regretful, and cheap. As for those who waste their love irresponsibly and don't need to care about a drop of water, although it's small, it's still worth it because of the accumulation of water drops. A Zen master taught his disciples very simply. But the profound meaning and value of it cannot be thought of. One time, Master Tu used white paper to wipe away the soot. This was passed by the master. Why am I a person who destroys Buddhism and is not worthy of being a practitioner? Because of the teacher's strictness, Extract Tu later became a famous Zen master. We have this because of him. Sooner or later, we will be able to contribute benefits to our family and society, a good and moral life. Even though people are born into this world, it is a blessing, but we are not. Knowing that our blessings are wasted, not knowing how to save them in time, not worrying about creating more blessings, but enjoying them until the blessings and disasters come. How can we react in time? If we know how to use the blessings in the right place, then the blessings will come. On the contrary, if we continue to follow the habit of wasting and damaging the blessings, then at some point, the blessings will no longer exist, and we won't be able to lift our heads and have to suffer. So what if we don't know how to do good deeds to accumulate more blessings? No matter how many blessings a person has, they will become more and more exhausted. So we must know how to use the blessings in the right place and use them in the right place. Then the blessings will not wear out, but will grow more and more like the good master and his disciples try to destroy. It's very simple, but it's true that everything has value. We have to know how to save and use it in the right place. Saving is different from being mean. Those who spend money in the wrong places don't dare to spend it. For example, if you have wealth, keep it until it rots and don't dare to help those in need when you meet them. The trouble is that the person who knows how to save is the person who knows how to store it. The blessing of saving is the person who knows how to spend it in the right place and the right way without being extravagant and wasteful. Some people don't know how to save their own money, but what belongs to others or in common is used wastefully. No matter what, you don't need to care or use it wastefully. If you can make a profit for yourself, you don't care about anyone. Human destiny, according to the concept of some ancients, is that human life depends on the Creator or God. God or heaven arranges that those who believe and follow them will receive grace, while those who do not will believe that if you do not follow their wishes, you will fall into ruin. They believe that people are born with a predetermined destiny that has been arranged. It is difficult for people to overcome this fate, so they often talk about the fate of heaven. It is determined that no one can change it. If it is said that how we live in this life, whether rich, or poor, is determined by fate, then humans are powerless and have to live and accept the dictates of the Supreme Being. Is that true? During the war, humans treated each other cruelly, and natural disasters, including earthquakes, were added. Poverty, epidemics, diseases, mass deaths. Could it be that the Supreme Being also created these things that make us humans suffer so much? If humans and all species were created by a powerful Supreme Being, why is there such a thing? There are so many differences and inequalities in this world. There are rich people, white people, black people, tall people, short people, etc. Is it possible that the Supreme Authority wants to create so many injustices and differences? If we talk about human destiny, irreversible, the following story will show us the concept that is not solid and not suitable for human life. In the past, there was a fortune teller who was very good at fortune telling. Near his house, there was a poor and honest farmer. One day, Bo Tin passed by like a faithful Tiang teacher. In the rain, the farmer stopped by to say hello to True Rain. Master Tuong so looked at him carefully from his face to the way he walked, then shook his head and said the number of the poor lord of 3 generations. We often hear that no one comes into the family. No one has difficulty in the 3 generations. This sentence means that nothing is fixed. If we say that fate is fixed, the rich will always be rich. Poor people have to accept the fate of poverty. Even if they try, it will be useless. Time passed. Mr. Dan still went to work as usual, still with the fate of poverty. One day on the way home, he saw a gold necklace lying there. On the side of the street, he picked it up and thought about not knowing whose necklace this belonged to. If he didn't see someone else pick it up, why would the person who lost it have to suffer because of losing it? Thinking like that, he found a way to return it to the person who lost it. My husband and I sat right there, waiting for the owner to come find me and return me. I sat from morning to afternoon, forgetting to be hungry, hoping to meet the lost person. When it was just dusk, he saw a girl walking and looking at the ground, looking for something and crying so much. He called out and asked why. "Why is there such a sad thing that makes me cry like that?" She said, "Yes, sir, my fiancé gave me a pair of earrings and a very precious gold necklace. Unfortunately, on the way here, I was afraid the necklace would break and fall away. If I can't find it again, I'll probably commit suicide to avoid Guy's husband giving it to someone else after that." The farmer asked her about the shape and color of the necklace. The girl described it exactly as she feared. The farmer immediately showed the necklace, and the girl was so happy to see it. It's true. The necklace of the farmer's son was given to the girl thanks to the farmer's kindness. The girl escaped death within reach. Although the farmer was poor and needy, when he picked up something that had fallen, he was not greedy because he thought that the person who lost something was suffering, so he had no heart to take it away. Understanding that the farmer did not pay a day's work, he was willing to sit back at the crash site to wait for the owner to return. This is also a good action of a Buddhist practitioner who does not do anything to harm others, even in the short term. The Buddha's mind has guided us to a living awareness, an understanding, and a willingness to lead ourselves to serve the country. One day, he visited the house of Master Tuong to saw his brother. He was surprised to say that his general was about to come. After becoming a mandarin, the farmer said, "Uncle, I am a simple farmer and do not have much knowledge or words to become a mandarin and a servant. Officials must be highly educated and knowledgeable and have the ability to lead and help the people and the country. As for children, I only know how to plow the fields. How can I help anyone?" Like the physiognomy keeps telling me from the past until now, I've never seen the physiognomy before. Now I ask you, since the day you came to my house until now, have you done any good deeds? The farmer answered, "Yes, I haven't done any good deeds, but I suddenly remembered that there was a time when I picked up a thread. I gave the gold necklace back to that girl. It was my blessing for my poor servant. You're about to become a mandarin. Remember what I said, Mr. Dan?" Listening to Master Tuong So's words, he didn't pay any attention to those words. He went home and continued his work until the people in the village were given orders. The superiors chose a virtuous person to serve as the commune leader. He was trusted by everyone and was promoted to the position of chief after living in Troy Lai Sang. Now, what Master Tuong So said is not wrong. Through the above story, we can see that physiognomy is not fixed. If we think that human life is determined by heaven, people live dependently, the poor will be poor forever. Over here, the farmer, with good intentions, picked up the lost property, but thought that the person who lost the property would suffer, so he did not take it, but returned it from there, and the farmer received it. Change life, knowing that our lives are in great need of money and wealth, but money and wealth are earned by our own sweat and tears, but we are not sure to keep it. What's more, if we gather what falls and have good hearts, farmers when Buddha was not born, many people believed in the doctrine of fate, or the theory of one being. The supreme power that creates everyone must suffer like that for the rest of their lives, without changing, thanks to cultivating enlightenment with bodhisattva. The Buddha clearly saw that all differences in this life are caused by harmonious causes and conditions. Sincerely, this universe does not have a single living thing. If anyone says that there is one entity that created everything, we know that this person does not understand the cause and effect of karma of the universe, because there cannot be one. Everything is formed by just one cause. If it is said that everything is decided by heaven, then why are there differences in this world? No two people are the same. If God has the ability to bless and bring disaster, why doesn't he bless all living beings? And if it is said that fate is predetermined, why can someone change their destiny, like that farmer. For example, the Buddha taught that it is the creation of the Supreme Being that makes people kill, steal, incest, lie, slander, sell, be rude, bullshit, covet, desire, be malicious, and be ignorant of mistakes if their destiny is right. It would be extremely harmful if you accidentally do bad things and blame my fate like that without trying. Try Duong to rebuild his Buddhist life. Very practical concept. Do not accept or blame fate. If you can do it, say thanks to God. If it doesn't work, then blame it. If God says so, it is unfair to God. Who cares? Thinking like that unintentionally harms oneself and one's family and society, because that person will not strive to help Vuong live a useful life, but will fall into superstition, while everyone has the ability to reason and understand. Thinking and understanding can change depending on our circumstances, but if we live without will, lack of willpower to strive for yang, saying that there is a divine being with the ability to bless or bring disaster, is truly contradictory and unreligious. Buddhism says this exists, that exists, this does not, that does not. Everything depends on depending on each other, depending on the situation. There are endless changes. The Buddha showed us the fundamental doctrine of cause and effect, karma, for all human actions in this life. Is there a difference? No one is the same because each person's karma is not the same. But because people are born, there are different people. Some people are tall, white, cute, rich, and luxurious. Some people are born poor and miserable, sick and sick. All are caused by their own destiny. Therefore, the Buddha is a fully enlightened person with compassion and wisdom. He always thought about how to help people understand the circumstances, thoughts, and aspirations of their own lives to be a new person. Peace and happiness. The birth of Buddhism has brought the value of happiness to everyone. All good things must go wrong, so success or failure is created by oneself. No one has the right to bliss. Since ancient times, people have often believed that people and creatures born in this world were created by a deity or God, and no one accepted to practice according to God's instructions. They will fall into a place of misery and suffering, but whoever listens to God's words will enjoy good retribution. The Buddha taught that within each of us there is the ability to be enlightened, the ability to be liberated. Just because we don't thoroughly understand right and wrong, good and bad. So success or failure in this life has created harmful things and mistakes. That's why when we are born, we have to experience the evil retributions of pain and suffering. The Buddha, depending on each person's destiny, gave teachings of many different types and levels to be suitable for salvation. He advised everyone to know how to turn to the Buddha Dharma, take refuge in the 3 jewels. Accept and keep the 5 precepts, and try to keep these 5 precepts completely, then surely in your present and future life, you will be reborn as a perfect human being. What kind of person knows how to practice kindness with the 10 precepts of not killing, not stealing, not committing adultery? Don't say hurtful words. Don't say divisive words that cause disunity. Don't say hateful words that will deceive and seduce people, but always speak the truth. Be peaceful, cheerful, and open to help everyone be loved and cared for. Chang Hoa sympathizes and forgives each other to reduce greed, anger, and delusion. Then surely in the future, that person will be reborn in the heavenly realms to enjoy all the good blessings. Often angry, if you kill and make people around you suffer, all kinds of misery will surely happen in the future. Will be lost in hell and be punished, while those who are greedy, selfish, and narrow-minded always make others sick because of physical suffering or curse at others, as well as speak harshly to their parents-in-law. In the future, the body will be sick and tired. The life will be difficult, miserable, and lacking in all kinds of ways. Being born is the same human condition, but it is created by previous lives. different, and in life. Currently, we have to suffer that retribution. So each person has different life circumstances and others. If you are confused and have wrong views, you are attached and cannot understand the truth of life, then you will fall into the animal species that live by inertia. Karma depends on which species you are attracted to, and you will have to pay the consequences for your whole life. Life is irresistible, and we are very happy to be born as human beings because we have all the means to have thoughts, to have understanding, to judge right from wrong, to be able to learn and learn the true teachings in a way. Truly believe that you have the ability to enlighten the truth and understand what you created. What are the good karma or bad karma and the consequences of those karma? How do we believe? How certain and all actions are directed towards good, so that we will achieve perfect rebirths. Full of blessings, Thang talks about cause and effect. We must know that cause and effect has many forms. So people often say that cause and effect are like that. There is a type of cause and effect that is close. That is, when we do something, the result is immediate in the present without having to wait for a long time. For example, when we are hungry, we eat rice, then the fruit will be filled immediately. Or if we beat the drum and hear the drum right away, there will be stems that if we plant now, we may have to pay the fruit for a long time. 5 or 10 years or even several decades before harvesting. Feel the retribution. There are causes that we sow in this life, then in one lifetime, 2 lifetimes, or countless lifetimes later, the results will be very diverse and complex. We are ordinary people who cannot be seen with the physical eye. With all my heart, as Buddhists who practice Buddhism, we must be careful with every word. Speaking of every action we create in every day and every hour, we must constantly consider and meditate to enlighten ourselves so as not to make mistakes. We must know how to reflect on ourselves and ask ourselves questions about why we were born. Born in this life, we must bear the fate of poverty, suffering, hardship, lack of illness. Why was that person born with a happy birthday, etc.? We must recognize what is good cause, what is bad cause, or what is good effect, what is bad cause. When we know the bad consequences clearly and accurately, we can trust his teachings, the Buddha, and the true teachings truly have the ability to help people escape the pressing afflictions in life. Just because sentient beings are born with deluded attachments today and have to endure evil and suffering. Therefore, as Buddhists, coming to the 3 jewels, coming to Buddhism, we must believe that the Buddha is just a person like everyone else in the world. He is also a human being born of flesh and blood, and growing up and living together. Like us, but he had the conditions to be born into a noble family. The whole golden palace of Deen Ngok has all the subjects of the world. That is the position that everyone in the world always desires. But why did he give up everything to go in search of the truth? He found the truth to liberate and open his heart to compassion. To save sentient beings from the suffering of birth and death, he helped teach and share how everyone in the present can live in peace and happiness. Therefore, we Buddhists believe that Buddha is a human being. If we have the ability to overcome birth, old age, sickness, and death, then we are also a human being like the Buddha. We can also do teachings. The Buddha's teachings are very diverse and sublime. He divided them into 2 types for the baptisms that are the factors to be reborn as human beings. To enter the heavenly realm and gain happiness, retribution, and victory, according to his teachings, practice according to the virtues. Keeping the 5 precepts or practicing goodness, who else can realize that in this life is a whole process of suffering? This body must be influenced by many means of worldly happiness. Although it exists, it is only temporary and fleeting. Because we lack ignorance and lack of awareness, Volume V shows us the second practice method to achieve enlightenment and complete liberation. We all still live in the present in this life, but we are not influenced by means of desire. Happiness, wealth, beauty, beauty, wealth, fame, beauty, delicious food, yen. However, you are the same as everyone else. But he is not bound, not attached, not infected with the evil of the world, and not influenced by those things in his life. We as Buddhists need to imitate his noble and good practice. If we are not capable of practicing liberation in the present life, then we must truly practice. The blessings and blessings we contemplate and enlighten ourselves and wonder why we are in this world. We look up and compare ourselves with others. We feel so unhappy because of hardship due to illness. That's because we don't understand. To gain insight into life and the truth about helping others, we must understand the reason why we are miserable and sick. It's also just because many previous lives there were acts of killing each other, and also because humans have an attachment to thinking that all creatures born in this world are to serve and provide food for humans. So humans take killing lives to feed ourselves, and these acts of killing cause unjust resentments to pile up. Today, we have to pay and suffer illness and suffering. Buddhist teachings that every human being or every living being existing in this world has equal life and death. But because of ignorance and attachment to doing bad things and causing sin, they must fall into the animal species. Humans have the advantage over animals that they have knowledgeable thoughts because they want to seek nourishment for this body. The ego is attached to thinking that I am the superior type with rights, and animals are born to serve humans. Therefore, humans seek to kill animals to feed and nourish themselves. Because yet, causing pain and destruction to all living beings from one life to the next without stopping. Today, anyone who has accidentally created evil karma and now has to suffer retributions such as illness, disability, and hardship. We need to repent and chant Buddha's name to find every method in this present time to transform the bad karma we have caused. If we have accidentally created many bad things in our past lives and in our current life, we must repent right now and vow that from now until the rest of our lives, we will carefully guard our body, speech, and mind. If we see that it is harmful to ourselves and others, then we stop thinking and do not act, and at the same time make a vow to speak, act, and do things that serve ourselves, others, and life. To realize and give everyone peace and happiness, cause and effect, is not fixed. Talking about cause indeed, when it comes to the actions we do, we create ourselves. Do good, receive blessings. Do evil, suffer. That is a truth. Of course, what the Buddha taught in the Aha Sutra, the Buddha gave a very good example. If we put a handful of salt in a small glass of water, after dissolving the glass of water, it will become too strong and we cannot use the same salted mushroom, so we put it in a large jar of water. Even though there are salted mushrooms, there is too much water in the jar. Only a little salty. We can use it for consumption or to quench thirst, but these salted mushrooms are put into a round of river. Although there are salted mushrooms put in the water of the river, too much so the salted mushrooms cannot control us, and we can use them normally. According to Buddhism, for example, holding salt is bad karma and flowing water is good karma, and each person's ability to practice. Therefore, Buddhism often says that although every cause has its own effect, but the cause and effect created by your actions from your body, mouth, and mind. You can change and transform just like before when you were young. You didn't know how to smoke, drink, and gamble until you grew up. When you get involved in community life, you see people doing it. You imitate it a few times, and from then on, you too know how to smoke, drink alcohol, and gamble like anyone else. When in the future, you go to the pagoda to study religion and practice, you know that these are the causes of bad karma that will damage your body and lead to illness. Sickness makes your wife, children, and family members worried and lose happiness. When you clearly know that these are bad causes, then from your own awareness, you give up on yourself. If you are not aware, if you refuse to give up, even if the Buddha is present, he cannot help you give up. But when you are self-aware that this is if you do something wrong, that is not good and harmful to yourself, then you must be courageous. Giving up is because of your strong will. You can see its wrong potential, and you want to give it up firmly so that it doesn't happen again. Again, we have to make a vow for all eternity, not to repeat this bad thing again. That will bring true happiness to you. In any matter, when we act that is harmful to ourselves and others, we are the best. If we decide not to do anything that we find beneficial for ourselves and others, we try to do it without giving up. Even if it is a very small thing, thanks to such a large vow, we will be able to overcome the obstacles in life, because according to Buddhist principles, whoever is born in this world is almost more or less great. Even if we don't do much evil, we still do little evil, because we don't have the ability to practice yet and don't have the right understanding, so surely everyone makes mistakes today. We are fortunate to have enough good conditions and good conditions. Blessings, although Phuoc Dayan's conditions are not as perfect as others. In the present, we have nothing to blame for anyone or other situations because we know the Buddhist teachings, practice the Buddhist teachings, and know our progress clearly. The path of cause and effect, karma, which cause leads to suffering, which cause leads to happiness and peace in life. Currently, we must definitely give up bad habits, even in our thoughts, and regularly practice every day to reflect. Enlighten yourself, compare yourself in many ways and from many angles to carefully examine whether this body is really you. Am I mine or not? Because in this world, there are too many people who mistakenly consider this body to be real and then cling to themselves as me. So when they do anything, they always have a purpose for themselves from which the mind arises. Greedy, hateful, ignorant, trying to take everything for themselves. The person who clearly recognizes this place can practice fully and regularly contemplate like this. In Buddhism, there are many methods for this contemplation if we are not capable enough. When we practice Zen meditation, we practice according to the method of reciting the Buddha's name. That is, we rely on the saying of reciting the Buddha's name too. The mind is not distracted, that is, reciting the name of any Buddha that we like. For example, if we like Shakyamuni Buddha, then we recite Shakyamuni Buddha. We like Amitabha Buddha, Amitabha Buddha. We like Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara. Then we recite Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara's name, any Buddha's name, any Bodhisattva's name, if we focus our mind on that Buddha to contemplate and enlighten ourselves. We will overcome the obstacles in life even though this body must endure the darkest sufferings, sicknesses, difficulties, and illnesses. But when our mind is mature, this body must suffer. It's painful, but it's spiritual and mental. We're always peaceful and clear. When we're in pain, we know that this body hurts because of the karma we've practiced over many lifetimes. We've done it in the past. Now that we realize it, we won't do it again until we have enough conditions to do it. The results will end. Thanks to the ability to practice, we can transform all suffering and overcome all difficulties and pitfalls. Life follows the law of cause and effect, so there must be harsh consequences. If we speak in such a rigid way, we will be indifferent. We think that the law of cause and effect is fixed and immutable, but that is only partly true and not completely true. Why? Because the cause and effect is so subtle. We often hear that cause and effect grow melons. Melons grow beans and beans. Saying so does not fully understand the cause and effect of Buddhism. Buddhism says that cause and effect is a long chain. Time has the character of 3 times: past, present, and future. When we sow a cause, we must go through a certain period of time, quickly or slowly, depending on the appropriate conditions, to produce a result. This is also known as the present karma of sowing and immediately reaping the fruit. Like when a hungry person eats rice, he will immediately be full. This is the karma of the present. As a result, it is easy for people to misunderstand the issue of cause and effect and fate. It is only true and suitable for the poor people who do not try to strive to improve their lives. These people do not need to think about it. Think about it and just live according to the customs and traditions of who is like what you are like. When you sow seeds, you have to wait for time to produce results. For example, if you want to have jackfruit to eat, you must have jackfruit seeds planted in the ground and then have to wait. Only in year B will we have jackfruit next year, but if we lack care or the weather is not suitable, we may not have jackfruit. So we can change the scene and create different results, not necessarily. What is the cause? What is the result? During our time studying at Thong Mat Zen Monastery, we often heard the monk say the cause of palm fruit and flowers because he sowed the flower seeds, but due to lack of care, the ants stole the flower seeds. After a while, the monk only saw grass growing and no flowers at all, while our monks kept busy watering. Every day, the grass grew so well that we thought they were growing flowers, but didn't know when we checked looking back. It's all grass like that. It's not correct to say that each cause has an effect. It depends on the condition. Depending on the cause and condition, it produces the result. We can't say one way, one cause, one effect in a rigid way. If it's like that, so what is the benefit of practitioners like us? In the past, if we created evil causes, today, even if we practice, we still suffer evil because there is no benefit to practicing. When we understand like that, we will try to renew. When we didn't know how to practice, we sowed the karma of stealing, making ourselves suffer and harming others. Today, when we know how to practice, we see that causes of suffering, confusion, harm, and even stealing and stealing again do so to transform the previous evil causes. Later on, we won't receive much suffering because it changes those who become monks. Practice, receive the daily food of the Na, believe in giving thanks to the help of Buddhists in terms of material things, money and wealth. So do we have to pay this debt? If we still do not determine which cause and effect, the monks will certainly not be able to repay their debts. The monks will practice and receive offerings from the Na Tin alms, but they pay those material debts with other things. People who become monks and practice receive the offerings of Na Tin alms. They have to pay that debt by practicing righteously to save sentient beings and spread the Buddhist Dharma. Buddhist Dharma benefits all practitioners. If they cannot do so, they must accept the consequences of suffering like other normal people. The money that Buddhists help to eat will be gone for a year or 3 months, or at most a few years. This is the same Dharma that monks can give to Buddhist life, does not run out, and is left over to use as a virtue to use in the next life. Therefore, in the sutras, the Buddha said that in the Dharma of giving alms, Dharma is the most triumphant and most beneficial, so it is also called the sowing of retribution in this life. Causes in the next life only have results. For example, when a newly born person is disabled for life, it is because of some bad causes created in his previous life. So in this life, he has to suffer the consequences of suffering in this life. He creates causes in many lifetimes to receive the results. Typical examples are the previous life story of Buddha Shakyamuni in a past life while entertaining him. He took a stick and hit the fish's head 3 times, but when he became a Buddha, he still had to suffer the retribution for 1 head in 3 days. Therefore, in the sutras, it is said that cause and effect, according to us, are like the shadow of the world. We can bypass worldly laws, but we cannot. There is no way to avoid the process of cause and effect. A person who knows how to practice when encountering bad results is not enough. It's nothing but always know that everything has its cause and effect. Just try to practice and accumulate more blessings. Accept the reality that happens to find a way to resolve it, so that all the good or bad results that we are receiving now originate from the seed. The cause we have planted since ancient times, even if one cultivates to become a Buddha, still suffers retribution. It's just that the cultivator, when bad consequences come, does not complain about what happened, but still tries to find the cause to transform suffering into reality. To be happy and peaceful, if we want to change the results that we have planted in the past, we must create many good and virtuous causes so that we can reduce the bad results, although we still have to suffer the consequences. The cause is not good, but it is not so heavy and painful to prove the cause and effect. We are asking for recalling the following story in a Dharma conference. Batrong's group, after finishing the Dharma lecture, everyone left, except for one old man who refused to leave. The old man had a pensive look and walked back and forth. His body was half human, half human. The animal is not human, but the animal is not an animal. The ancestors found it strange and asked him what kind of person he was. The old man replied, "Heaven, I am not a human, I am a fox, that is, a person with the life of a weasel. Once upon a time, in the time of Maha Kassapa Buddha, I practiced in the mountains, and people of great practice fell into cause and effect. I did not answer. Great practitioners no longer exist. Falling into cause and effect because of this answer, from ancient times until now, I have been doomed to be a weasel for 500 lifetimes. I don't know where I answered wrongly and fell into such a state. I respectfully ask the compassionate Venerable to enlighten my ancestor, Batrang. So please ask me again, quickly, Venerable Sir, does a great practitioner fall into cause and effect?" Patriarch Batrong answered that he did not mistake cause and effect. Please, ladies and gentlemen, the answer does not fall into cause and effect, and does not mistake cause and effect. He thought for himself which sentence was right and which was wrong. The monk mistakenly believed that if he practiced and attained enlightenment, he would not be punished. The true Buddhist doctrine of cause and effect is that all human actions, from circumstances or every other aspect of life in this society, are governed by the law of cause and effect. Perform the cremation ceremony for your child like a monk agreeing to the old man's disappearance. It's almost lunchtime, and the drum team announces to the crowd that after eating, everyone should join us for the cremation ceremony. For a monk who had just escaped from life, the whole assembly was stunned and surprised because everyone saw Nirvana Trough be in the house. No one who had pneumonia, even in the temple, would make tea like that after finishing eating. Telling the crowd to go to the back of the mountain, he used his stick to rub a large weasel that was just fresh when you die, perform the solemn cremation and burial ceremony like a monk. Buddha repays the reward. The Buddha has clearly shown us that we have to go through the process of cause and effect just because we don't practice until we get there and don't study. Thoroughly understanding the Buddha's teachings and practicing incorrectly, the monk Kir answered incorrectly and was doomed to be a weasel for 500 meters until the compassionate monk Batrong opened his eyes to the other monk, to be freed from a life of confusion. Therefore, when studying Buddhist teachings, we must consider it. Oh, be sure to study carefully. We must wholeheartedly and deeply believe in the Buddha's teachings because they are true. If we truly practice according to the Buddha's teachings, all bad karma will be transformed for sure. We will achieve peace and happiness in this life and will be freed from the suffering of birth and death, as in the case of Buddha Shakyamuni, when he was still alive after achieving the Dharma he taught for 49 years. Clearly show everyone which is the good path and which is the bad path, so that everyone can choose for themselves. He said, I don't. We cannot bless or bring disaster to anyone. We cannot help anyone escape suffering, but we guide the method of transforming suffering to bring peace and happiness for everyone to practice, because we ourselves have done evil things. You will have to suffer bad retribution, and if you do good, you will receive blessings. Therefore, during the day of going to Hong Hoa, some religious people were jealous of him, because his religion was born and made many believers. As you can see, religious people of that time no longer believed in their religion. The teachings of the religion they are following are no longer in line with the truth and are far from the truth. So some people in polytheistic or monotheistic religions convert to Buddhism and become monks to practice. In that situation, non-believers find ways to the monk gave Du Kong the Buddha's congregation to reduce their evil intentions to harm him in many ways, such as luring them to arrange for a young girl to wear beautiful makeup every day to come to the monastery to listen to the Buddha's sermon after a period of time. Miss Du. The Buddha and the monks encouraged her to do bad things even though she preached such words. But because the reputation of the Buddha and the congregation is so great, those words are not enough to convince people to believe this way. They do not find other ways. Then they hired. Alcoholic thugs killed that woman and buried her corpse in the Buddhist monastery, then sent someone to inform the Mandarin that we have a pious woman who regularly comes to the Buddhist monastery to listen to the Dharma now. Has gone missing. Please find a way for the king and his officials to investigate the news and inform the king to send someone to the asylum to investigate upon investigation. The woman's body was finally discovered buried under a pile of trash in front of the monastery of the Persian king. At that time, he was also a very devout disciple of the Buddha. Knowing clearly that the Buddha was once also a crown prince preparing to ascend to the throne of a mighty and powerful king, but he dared to give up everything to become a monk, so how could this happen in his congregation? The king ordered the officials to investigate and find out who killed this person. During the investigation, someone came to report to the officials that there were drug addict thugs. The reason behind this case was because after killing the woman and burying her body in front of the monastery, they received a large amount of money and then gathered to drink until they drank too much and couldn't control themselves, so they confessed. They killed the woman to receive the normal amount of money. When they heard that Kong Min had come to TM to arrest everyone, they told the truth that it was not because they were drunk that they killed the woman, but that many people were skeptical because he was jealous of the Buddha, so he plotted to harm the girl. So he hired them to kill the girl and bury her body in front of the monastery to frame the Buddha, with the purpose of alienating everyone from him and the congregation, and at the same time to make the religious people named by Hung denounce Lapsi Tra to the king.
The above incident clearly shows the truth and gives us a moral lesson. Price. What is the cause? What is the result? When we take actions to want to harm others but cannot harm them, we have planted bad karma for ourselves, and then when we have enough choices, we must suffer the corresponding karma. We have planted the above story, we must find out the root cause.
It was explained by the Buddha many lifetimes ago. When the Buddha was still practicing the Bodhisattva path, he still had mistakes in his life. One time, Du Kong of Apradikabuddha said that this person was a person who broke the precepts and did not practice true or breaking the precepts, and he pushed others to follow him. So now he has become a Buddha, no longer attached, no longer affected by afflictions and sufferings. But because of the karma many generations ago, he sowed it in the past, must suffer the retribution of being betrayed by these Confucian people who seek to insult them. Humiliated Du Kong, so that his congregation was persecuted by the king and mandarins and ostracized by everyone. However, at present, he still suffers the same retribution, but with his great and true compassion, everything is overcome, because as an enlightened person, he clearly knows that bad karma comes to him. So he never complains about anyone who does not clarify and explain whether I am this or that, to correct myself when things happen. Buddha, always pure enlightenment, his mind is to let things follow the cause and effect of destruction. No matter what the outcome, he doesn't care that the end result is wandering and expanding life. Investigate and clarify the matter, vindicating him as the Buddha, as the supremely enlightened one who has overcome the afflictions and sufferings of birth and death, and has liberated himself from the constraints of the world. However, he still has to suffering the unjust consequences of his past karma he created. He did not take it as suffering and trouble to the Buddha, but he considered it a happy thing, because he was able to repay the karmic consequences. The lesson from the above story is that we Buddhists must accurately assess whether the Buddha would have to suffer such retribution, because we have not practiced much yet. We are not yet capable of transforming bad karma in our past or present lives. So we need to be aware of the causes that lead to disasters for ourselves and others in order to avoid them. If we are born with a compulsive mind, tired of suffering and deadlock, knowing this, we should diligently practice the Buddha's teachings every day in order to gain some blessings to neutralize bad karma and transform suffering at the same time. If there is any cause or condition that creates, if we can give ourselves peace and happiness, we should try to practice and maintain it. When the Buddha was still alive, there was a little girl who specialized in selling cakes. This girl loved the Buddha and the Sangha very much. She often brought cakes to make offerings. The monk saw that although she was poor, she had respect for the Buddha's elders. It is predicted that from this good fate, she will one day become the queen of the country. Time passes smoothly, and she still bakes cakes every day to sell to earn money to support herself, help her family, and not forget to give back. During the offerings to the monks, she also did not care about the Buddha's words. I guess one day, the king of Persia had an intention to find a successor after Queen Duong Tru passed away. He chose the girl Baban to return to the palace and be crowned queen. Who was the wife when the king brought her back to the palace? She remembered the prophecy. The Buddha's prediction was that he should find a way to bring all the food to offer. After the Buddha made the offering, Queen Lo knelt down and asked the Buddha, "What is the cause and effect that some women in this world have the body shape? Ugly, black, sick, unsightly. They are criticized and despised by everyone. They do not like their close relatives and relatives. When women are born into this world, they have the highest power, wealth, and wealth." The Buddha replied that because of the causes of anger and anger, people suffer, so in this world they have to suffer ugly and unsightly retributions. Because people are afraid of not being close because they know how to give alms, make offerings, help, and share with people. Today, they are born as pure, beautiful, good-looking women, born into a rich and noble family, and are talented. So when listening to this short sutra, each of us should examine ourselves to see if we are present in the present O2. Are we in such a situation? If we are in this situation, we have to find a way to overcome Tri's bad cause and effect that we have accidentally created. Who in heaven and earth has never been angry and hot? Being jerky is due to clinging to the ego, which makes it seem like you are the center of the universe. Being greedy for something becomes even more greedy for not being able to get it. Then you get angry and seek revenge, thereby causing suffering for yourself and others, leading to negative consequences, becoming a person with good looks. His ugly, dark, unsightly appearance is criticized, despised, and despised by everyone. Why does anger have such karmic consequences? Because when we are angry, when you're angry, your face is unsightly and fierce. Sometimes your face turns red and looks really ugly. When you're angry, you feel pain in your heart, because you haven't harmed others, but you yourself feel the pain when you're angry. It can lead to beatings, bullying, cursing, or extreme heat that cannot be washed, which can lead to consequences such as killing people or doing other illegal things, because we do not fully understand the cause. Anger often makes us suffer in the present and in the future, so the karma of being ugly and sick is like that in a family. People who are too angry will cause the family to lose happiness from a family that is happy and peaceful. Just because of anger, it leads to separation, divorce, or chaos with miserable wives and children because of one's own fault, because of lack of understanding and mature judgment. Buddhism clearly shows us that anger will lead to difficult consequences in the next life, ugly retribution, and illness. If we are not reborn, we will be reborn as human beings. In animals like snakes, chickens, and fish, these species do not know how to love each other. When they meet, they often fight and tear each other apart. That's also because of the cause of anger, because karma is so strong that I have to be born as an animal, so I still have enough conditions. Blessed to be born again as a human, but the retribution is to be an ugly and unsightly person. Embrace weak and weak vows. Because when you're angry, you make yourself suffer first, and then make others suffer as your anger leads you. There is a story about a mother who was 7 to 8 months pregnant because of her husband. Be infatuated with lust according to the concubine. This wife was angry and showed her impatience. Ken immediately cursed her husband to the extreme. After a while, she couldn't control herself. She left her parents' house. Until the day she bloomed, she gave birth to a baby. Excited, but the next day the baby died. The doctors found the cause of the baby's death after examining everything. Still could not find the cause until the doctor tested the baby's blood and discovered that the baby died from infected with toxins from the mother, because when MC is too angry, the toxins in the body are released into the blood. Affects the fetus, and when the baby is born and is breastfed, the mother is poisoned by milk and dies. We should remember that when a pregnant woman needs to be very calm, she should not be angry, because the cause of anger is very harmful. Harm can harm ourselves and our children, not only when pregnant, but also whenever we do anything. We should calmly contemplate and prevent anger, because it also leads to increased anxiety. Blood pressure is harmful to the heart. Some people, due to anger, have a stroke that leads to death in addition. Anger in the body also leads to many causes such as sleeping, dreaming, and having nightmares, seeing soldiers in pain, and killing each other, making us scared, sad, and miserable. Living in reality is not peaceful or happy. Because we can sow hatred for people and all kinds of people, we are always afraid of retaliation. Since then, our lives are always filled with fear and insecurity, and because of the many dangers of anger, the Buddha pointed out teaches methods to transform and prevent. The first method that Buddha showed everyone that all people or all species born in this world are equal. But just because of anger, we have created many bad deeds, so in this life, people are born with many consequences. Different and immobile from each other, some people are rich, happy, enjoying full happiness. Some people are poor. Some people are in trouble. Some people are sick. Some people live long. Some die prematurely. Some people are beautiful. Some people are ugly. Some people are black. Some people are white. Some people are tall. Some people are short. All these differences are because we sow karma and practice cause and effect. Buddhism teaches us that if we want to transform our anger and ignorance, we must constantly meditate on compassion. Observe love and see that everyone is our loved one. So that's why we rarely accept it in Buddhism. The principle of cause and effect is very important and very practical. We Buddhists need to clearly understand and believe in the principle of cause and effect and work to serve others, because we will enjoy all these good activities. Receive good karma for this life and the next. And when the predestined realization comes, We must know how to comfort ourselves and practice to overcome the misfortunes in life. We must contemplate and deeply believe in the Buddha's teachings and practice diligently, which is a bright path for us to follow and advance towards enlightenment and liberation from cause and effect. One time, in the middle of a hot afternoon, VNC Persia walked up to the Buddha. After paying his respects, he sat down to one side and said, "Dear Buddha, there was a millionaire who had just passed away without children. So I came to check the assets amounting to more than 800 million gold coins, not to mention the amount of land. This poor food only has leftover sour porridge and bath. The only clothes are a few sets of ordinary cotton clothes. The household items are nothing valuable other than the old Curzon V's family." He said and wondered why a millionaire had such a simple life. Buddha explained exactly like the ocean this lonely Tiu Fu had in one life. Dedicated to offering many delicious dishes to Pradikabuddha, Koi Tam regretfully said that was right. So I should give this food to the worker. As a result of the offering, and then he regretted it. He became a millionaire 7 times over and filled his house with wealth. But he still couldn't eat any delicious food or strange things that he couldn't wear. Good things, but only scraped rudimentary and worthless things. In addition, he also killed his brother's son to appropriate the property of the person who killed and robbed him. After death, he fell into the 3 evil realms, to suffer bad consequences because of such actions and deeds. Although he is a millionaire, but has no children to inherit, and the property confiscated in the last 7 lives did not accumulate new blessings. So now the money after death is thrown into hell. After speaking, the Buddha recited the verse about property and possessions. Everything you don't take with you when you close your eyes and leave this world only brings good and bad karma, like a shadow that can't be touched. So do good things to save for the next life. Live peacefully and happily. The above story is true in the life of Buddha, who is still alive and gives us many things. Lessons about cause and effect karma. Buddhists need to pay attention to clearly understanding the details behind an alms offering to a person. Bich Kai Buddha received all the blessings of 7 lifetimes of being born as a millionaire. 2. Because of his cheap mind, B suffered the retribution of being stingy in life, even though he couldn't eat strange foods. 3. Because he killed his brother's only child. Therefore, there is no child to inherit property. B is killing people and appropriating property, so after death, one will fall into hell for 5 years. Because one does not accumulate more blessings, so when encountering them, one cannot make offerings to true practitioners. Why is there such a thing? Such great blessings are because people practice righteously. They do good things, even for the benefit of others, not for their own benefit. Therefore, those who make the intention to make offerings to the enlightened and liberated ones will receive hundreds of thousands of times more blessings than ordinary people who also give alms to ordinary people. One day of their life is a day of greed and hatred, so the price is high. Blessings are limited, but maybe because blessings are limited, we ignore it, looking for objects to make offerings like that will lead to an unequal mind. Offering alms and also having the mind of dividing people in the Sutra of the 412. Buddha chapter teaches that giving alms to 100 people to keep food is not as good as giving alms to a good person giving alms to 100 people. Being kind is not as good as giving alms to one person who knows how to keep the 5 precepts. Giving alms to 10,000 people who keep the 5 precepts is not as good as giving alms to one person who has attained the fruit of irreversibility. Giving alms to 100 billion Pradikabuddhas is not as good as giving alms to one Buddha. Currently, here we see that the higher the alms given to a practitioner, the more blessings will be returned to women. But there are sutras where the Buddha teaches that almsgiving must be equal, which is also the Buddha's teachings. Why is there such a difference between each other? So which sutra is right, and which is wrong. Since it is Buddhist teachings, the truth has no right or wrong. Buddha only gave medicine according to the illness, depending on the level of each person's inborn ability. The Buddha instructed how to give alms and offerings to those who are new to learning Buddhism and did not understand much about Buddhism. The world-honored one advised them to stay away from evil and stay close to good friends. Giving alms and making offerings requires a choice after understanding the Buddhist teachings. We will give alms and offerings according to our circumstances, without distinguishing between us and others. This is why the sutra clearly states it is clear how to make offerings to receive great blessings. For those who are not yet imbued with morality, the act of doing merit must be chosen according to one's preferences. I don't have a certain mandatory boundary to give alms to an ordinary person. Although they still have blessings, this ordinary person does not know how to practice and lives in greed, hatred, and delusion. One day, their life is focused on worldly things too much, so that's why. Those who give alms enjoy limited blessings. On the contrary, they make offerings to the liberated saints. Their happiness is too high. They always live for everyone, depending on the conditions. They teach and help waiting for living beings. They do not know how to get tired and bored, so those who give alms seems to enjoy unlimited blessings. Saying this so that practitioners should know what they mean, be aware of your responsibility and duty when receiving the nourishment of the Buddhist altar and practice Ha to the fullest. However, here, we need to emphasize that we are not only making offerings to practitioners, but ignoring other objects that are still present. Faced with many difficulties and misfortunes, the almsgiver offers alms out of compassion and love, not out of hope for blessings to choose for himself, thus leading to alms offerings with discrimination, compassion, and love for all. All sentient beings are the essential dharma of Buddhism, ready to share when conditions exist. Even if we only give alms once with an equanimous mind and a heart of sincerity and respect, when we see an honorable person, we make an offering, and when we see a person suffering, we help and share. Then what is more precious than the love of human lovers who only makes an offering once? Bich Kai Buddha was blessed 7 times to become a millionaire. But after making the offering, Koi Tam regretted not wanting to let that person fully enjoy it, so he had to suffer the retribution of many lifetimes of having wealth and property, but not receiving it. It is easy for all of us to see this with a person who is stingy, even when it comes to money. The warehouse is full of produce. It would be better to let it rot than to dare to help the needy with even a single meal. The lonely millionaire's heart of frugality has turned into a greedy and selfish heart, leading to retribution, even though he is rich. We have a lot of material wealth, but life is like a poor and unfortunate person. Here, we see that the law of cause and effect is very fair. If you sow good things, you will reap good results. To produce corresponding results. We need to be clearly aware that when practicing almsgiving, we should not give alms and then start regretting it. The mountain from there formed the minds of the Ha Tien sparrows. Losing the seed of compassion in the Ha Tien sparrows' hearts will lead to the retribution of being a hungry ghost wandering for countless lifetimes. Some people say that the regretful mind and the thrifty mind are the same. We need to clearly assess this place. Saving means knowing how to spend properly. Quiet Phaya Akse uses the right things at the right places, but regrets being cheap and frugal. Ha Tien is the mind that doesn't want to share with anyone, just keeps it for himself. So saving and being frugal are very different. One is spending properly, and the other is being stingy and being stingy. 15. Let it go to waste, and not help anyone or give alms, and then start the mind to save money. To go through suffering and shop for gold is to gain happiness anu, like that millionaire who killed his brother's only child. In order to appropriate property, This is a violation of the law of both murder and robbery, so that rich man must suffer the retribution of many miserable lives, being tortured to death over and over again, making many worries about animals to be repaid by Quan. We respect each other and always protect our life. No one wants to destroy it, not even us Buddhists, having to be aware of this. It is impossible not to have a guilty conscience when harming others. The suffering of the rich is that they do not have children to inherit their property, so their whole life they only live in hatred and suffering, but the things they want cannot be achieved because they do not sow good causes. How can they reap good results? Ironically, in this world, everyone wants good things to come to them, but do not understand the law of cause and effect. So they do not know how to do good deeds by killing someone to rob them, especially if that person is the only child to inherit the family. In his assets and career, the retribution brought that millionaire to poverty for many years because karma is very fair. If you do good, you will receive blessing. If you do evil, you will suffer the consequences. The law of cause and effect is not arbitrary. For whoever kills, life for life is an indisputable worldly law, but depending on the degree, the law can reduce people who have contributed a lot and served for the common good, but because of lack of awareness. It is true that we are tempted by material things, so from a good perception we are led by greed, wanting to dictate illegal things. The same goes for worldly laws or the law of cause and effect. If you have merit, you will be rewarded. If you are guilty, you must be punished. Just like that old millionaire who made an offering to partake a Buddha to enjoy the blessings of rich people, but after making the offering, he koi tam regretted his wealth. So even though he was rich for 7 generations, he could not enjoy the ultimate glory and wealth. In fact, he only lives hard and hard like a poor person. What makes him like that is due to the power of karma. The most important thing is that when we are rich, we are in poverty. Enjoy good karma for giving alms, offerings, helping, sharing, but we only know how to enjoy it without knowing how to do good deeds to accumulate more blessings. Then it is considered that we agree to end the karma and fate of life. In this world, there are thousands of complex, multifaceted, and varied shapes and sizes, sometimes one way or another, extremely different. Each person is born with a life situation that is completely different from each other. Our existence has immobility in all aspects. No one is the same. Let's try to ask why are we born in a poor house to suffer poverty and not in a poor house to enjoy comfort and wealth? Why are we dark, ugly, and sick, but not as beautiful as everyone else? Why are we so miserable in the countryside that person is smart, handsome, and handsome? There is no such thing as that. Why is life so ironic? From ancient times until now, countless secret papers of religious doctrines have answers from the perspective of everyone in their group defends their own reason, the truth, and those who do not follow it will be damned according to him. He is just a loyal servant to his master. The Buddha has a different perspective with a very practical and heartwarming teachings. The Buddha is the one who has realized all the truths that life has clearly shown us about. Human karma creates results for the present life, and what we create in the present will bring results in the future. This is a system of teachings that is completely different from the concept of destiny and destiny, or the number of Buddhas and clouds. Buddhism is not a random argument and then be irresponsible for your actions. That all misfortunes, unexpected luck, and unexpected events happen naturally, but all have their own deep causes from the past leading to today's results. The concept of fate or destiny is a concept. Of the schools of learning such as divine will, polytheism, destiny, and divine destiny, which holds that there is a powerful God who can bless and harmonize human life, all suffering, happiness, success, or failure in life are all arranged by this supreme being, arguing that each person is born into this world, everyone has their fate, arranged and arranged by the past. Every gesture, every action is predetermined by the past. Every human effort is useless. But Buddhism is not like that. Everything is enough for everyone. The destiny of the previous life, but not willing to renew yourself to rebuild your life, to be better and better. The mandate of heaven theory states that there is a God who assigns to each individual a certain number of destiny. Humans cannot disobey God's orders, so Confucius always succeeded or failed in everything he did. It is said that God is like this. Humans have no right. The master must live according to God's efforts. It is not God's will that God sells everything. Therefore, fate or Buddha's number are both according to the concept from ancient times. They are only relevant. This is the case when humans are not yet civilized and have not progressed today. Science has clearly demonstrated to us that there is no such thing as just one cause that can form a human being. Being in this world is a whole process. Living a life of failure, and suffering is all preordained. That is the concept of other religions. They believe that humans having to follow the arrangement of the supernatural, humans only accept and surrender to fate, thinking that everything is determined by God. Then success goes against God's will and failure. Buddhism does not boast like that. All living beings present in this world are created by previous karma, so they must suffer retribution in the present life. There is no arrangement from anyone. Buddhism says that humans exist and exist in the world. This time is the result of karma created by oneself in the past and present when humans have created it. Karma cannot escape the results of those karmas. So what is karma? Karma is the energy created from habits of body, mouth, and mind that are repeated many times, with the foundation of the mind that over time becomes a habit of action. Just starting out, karma is not yet established. We can control it if we want to do it. We can do it if we don't. Then we can't. Once it is deeply ingrained in our consciousness and absorbed into our body, then we follow its instructions. So it is called good karma. Many karmas were created in the past, so today we are born in this life with the appearance of circumstances. No one is the same in life. So depending on each person's preferences in the present, music still has the concept that people have a fixed fate, like a child. Even those who try to change cannot. This means we have negated human intellectual ability. If people live with a predetermined fate, how can they change their circumstances to be destined to be punished? If we are helpless and helpless in the face of such a situation, how can human society progress in one day? On the contrary, Buddhism has the view that protecting karma is created by ourselves, so we ourselves has the right to change and transform. Like when we didn't know how to practice, we could steal and rob others. We used all sorts of tricks to deceive others. Now that we know how to practice, we see that it's a bad action that's harmful to ourselves and others. So we don't do it first, because I don't understand. So I do business and trade fraudulently. Knowing about karma, cause and effect, I do business honestly to create good karma, etc. So karma is created by my hobby, practice, so I have the right to change. Rather than resigning myself to surrender to fate, so in the present, we can predict the feeling of suffering, joy, good or evil, the karma we have created in the past. Those who have the will easily change bad karma. Those who accept fate will unintentionally lose their own ability to be wise, and then forever live in suffering and confusion. Karma is different from destiny in that karma can be changed while destiny cannot be fully karma. Karma refers to karma. It refers to causes and conditions. It refers to the dynamic change of cause and effect. If you believe that heaven has determined what you sow, you will reap the rewards. No one can practice, and it won't benefit you either. What is lost in the sutra? The Buddha taught that people who cause evil causes know that before or after they practice cultivate the body, cultivate precepts, Cultivate the mind, depending on your ability to practice more or less. The results will change. Is it true that the Buddha's teachings can be changed or not? Cause and effect are not wrong for those who let themselves drift along with their fate, let their hearts go, and follow the flow of life. They will accept the drifting life, but like that. The result is like that. Whatever you sow, the wind reaps. It's a matter of cause and effect karma if you just look. At first glance, everyone knows that evil and virtuous people will encounter evil consequences and do good deeds. They will enjoy good results. It seems very simple to hear, but it is only when we diligently practice and meditate regularly. Only then can we clearly understand the cause and effect of the 3 lifetimes from the time of creating the cause to the time of the result. There must be additional elements of fate for the result to be achieved. In the sutras, there is a story that Buddha taught as follows. A master father, one day, a poor commoner came to steal goats. The owner caught them, beat them, then took them to the magistrate and put them in prison. The next time the goat thief was caught by a mandarin, the owner only got angry and yelled a few words, but did not dare to treat the victim like a commoner. Another time, the owner caught a goat thief who was a soldier of the family. The king of the owner's house was angry, but did not dare to say a word. Instead, he only begged the person not to come and take his goat. In the above 3 cases, the thief was an undesirable person. Then God will harm me. Doing so is only because you create bad karma, so when the time comes, you will have to suffer miserable consequences. No one else will to clarify the process of cause and effect. We would like to cite a response in the Agama Sutra, where a Brahmin came to ask the Buddha's disciple, Venerable, see that you are all after death. One is born in the heavens. People who commit 10 evil deeds will be sent to hell after death, right? The Buddha's disciple replied, Yes, that's right, world-honored one. We have taught like that in the 10 good deeds. Don't kill directly. Do not incite people to kill. Do not be happy when you see people killing, or have compassion for humans and all living things, but do not killing but also arousing the mind to release sentient beings to help animals escape death in the fear of greed and robbery, but also giving alms, offerings, helping and sharing. Not having adultery with others when married. He also advises people for the sake of loyalty and happiness as a couple, not to destroy the happiness of others when suffering for others, not to lie to deceive others, but to speak the truth, and not to speak words like a harp. Disunity, understanding, and mutual understanding give birth to grace, contemplation of constant hatred, and frequent words of consolation, which will be divided in spirit unite, love, and help each other. Don't say bewitching words to seduce others, and then take advantage to harm others. Don't say cruel words, scold harshly, and cause pain to others, or speak gentle and cheerful words to create a bond. We love each other. We are greedy and selfish. We are selfish. We are often cover-ups. We are angry to create friendliness for each other. Or Koi Tam Tieng sees that everyone is a loving person, so it is easy to get close and help each other. No delusion, because this is the main cause leading to the origin of sin. CH is delusional, attached to clinging to this body, so we see that. They did harm to each other, went to war, killed and destroyed each other. After answering, the Buddha's disciple still felt uneasy, because she did not know whether her answer was correct or not, so she hurriedly went to see the Buddha and asked the Buddha. The world-honored one answered in the affirmative. Is that true? The Buddha said it was both right and wrong. Here, we need to find out which places are right and which places Buddha broke. It is not accurate to assert that someone who commits 10 evil deeds will definitely fall into hell, become a hungry ghost, or be reborn as an animal. This is not a criticism of my teachings. A person who commits 10 evil deeds does have karma, but whether that karma is heavy or light depends on their intentions, whether they acted with malice or not when committing those deeds. In summary, after death, whether one is reborn in the heavenly realms or falls into the three evil paths depends on the accumulation of karma and the strength of their deathbed karma in relation to their good or bad deeds. Therefore, in Buddhism, nothing is fixed. If anyone makes definitive statements, we know that they do not fully understand the Buddha's teachings. The affirmations in Buddhism serve only as reminders and encouragement for practitioners to avoid doing evil deeds. Those who practice will see that karmic retribution can change depending on each person's effort in practice. Understanding the profound teachings of cause and effect, karma, and the Buddha's instructions correctly allows us to renew ourselves, change our circumstances,